What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Coach's Corner. We're here with Mike and Jackie and myself. A couple of badasses. Hopefully, we have more coming soon. But what's going on, everyone?
Not too much. Same old, same old. Another day down.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike?
Mashing a high day. You know how it goes.
Nice.
Love it.
Well, let's look at get
Just
Jeff.
finished a giant bowl of chicken, rice, pineapple, and honey. So
Ooh.
Beautiful. I use honey a ton. I love it. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, how's it going?
Not much, man. How are you?
Nice to see Jackie on the show this week.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
Doing good.
Miss Tanya's popping in. Cool.
Nice.
Off and running.
What up?
What's up, Tanya?
What's up? What's up, guys?
Not much. Not much. We just got started, so let's get our. I have to ask. I know it's only been 1 week, Tanya, but I want to keep up on you. Everyone wants to know how the prep's going, and then we got Miss Jackie too. But Tanya, how's it coming along? What have we gotten done in a week?
Yeah, going pretty good. I got a new low this week. I saw 129 twice in the last week, which I saw before, but this is definitely a leaner and drier 129 than the last one, and I'm visually leaner even though my body weight hasn't changed that much. So moving for sure. I started a second of the 3 packs of Clen that I had, and it was a different tablet form that is definitely way more potent.
Really?
So I'm taking the same dosage, but definitely feeling way more off of this one. So I lowered that down a little bit today because my hands are still trembling on the same dosage that I've been on for weeks. So.
How many micrograms?
I was on 60.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
I start at 20 and I titrate it up slowly over the weeks, and I usually hang out at 60 for like a diet phase. So I brought it down to 40 today for sure because it's got my heart beating out of my chest for the last couple of days.
I saw you tried injectable.
No, I've never tried injectable Clen. I just use the oral.
Yeah.
I saw you put up a really good training video this week as well for legs.
Yeah. I try to get some training videos up as often as I can because people do seem to enjoy when I put those up now. I've always been putting them up, but now people seem to enjoy them.
I like them. I've been following you. I've learned a thing or two, that's for sure.
Oh,
yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just film the entire session. Like usually I'll just throw up like a collection of bits throughout the week or whatever, but I just film the whole entire session because it's pretty brutal. So
yeah. Well, that's good. So it seems like you're off and running and pretty much just worry about good training. Get some good rest.
Yeah, training is still feeling really good. I haven't really seen, the reps have been a little bit unpredictable. Like I'll lose reps here and there. I'll gain it back here and there. I'll lose it again. But for the most part, I'm really not losing strength on anything. I'm still feeling really, really good, getting really, really good pumps in the gym. So training is still going great. My energy is still pretty good. I'm definitely hungry and would appreciate more food, but I definitely don't feel on the floor at all.
Yeah. Okay. You know, what's funny is you see a lot, and I've put enough people through prep at this point where I've seen you wouldn't expect somebody to have like, I don't want to say shaky performance, but that scenario where like, rep ranges become a little unpredictable or not as consistent as the weeks and months before. But it seems like you get right off the bat, you get that quick drop of water, which, gives you some loss of force production in carbs and glycogen. And then people kind of, if you're looking at a scale, it'd be kind of like this consistency and like a bunch of bouncing, and then they usually catch on again. Exactly. And you always see, it's just from my experience, but you see a lot of people when they do start losing some strength, if it does happen, it's very gradual. So it's not like a big up or down thing. So that's probably what you're doing. Your body's probably picking up on what's going on quicker than your mind is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it seems to be even more gradual for me because like that watery phase for me lasts a long time. It takes a long time for like the water and puffiness to really come off when I start a diet. Like it takes several weeks. So that kind of like automatically titrates it a little bit for sure. But I think it's kind of an artifact of like just having less fatigue recovery reserves, because I noticed that I'll get big progressions on a couple of things, and then a couple of other things will suffer as a result. And it just kind of ping pongs back and forth week to week like that.
I don't know about you guys. I think a lot of people, it's like a mental thing. They think because they're eating less, all of a
Yeah.
sudden they're going to drop strength. But
Yeah.
I've found for me, initially when I lose that water and a little bit of fat too, I feel like my performance is at its best. So like,
Yeah.
I might get a couple more reps out of sets because I'm not losing my breath. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I've never been hindered by losing my breath at all. I've never been hindered by like cardiovascular endurance in my sets, but I do definitely find that sweet spot right when you're getting into the good part of a diet where you just feel better.
Yeah.
Like I can control my body better. I can feel like everything just moves better. I just feel like I can wield my body in space a lot easier. That's really nice.
I feel much more productive, like going through my
Yeah.
day and stuff too at that point.
And I've gone through like so many years of eating way less than this and doing way more than this that this doesn't feel hard.
Mhm.
What about you, Miss Jackie? You're what is it, 10 weeks now as of Monday? Or is it 11?
11.
11 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 11 weeks. Everything's been going real smooth. I mean, obviously, every week lately, it seems like it has its bumps and challenges. But no, I mean, weight wise, everything was linear for a little while, and just the past couple weeks, excuse me, I've been kind of in that area where you're talking about. It's a little bumpy and rocky, and simply because gear got put back in, so that's loading in the system. Just for this week, my clen just got bumped up to 40 micrograms, and I added in the yohimbine, 5 milligrams of that. So, which is kind of nice because I'm in my basement for cardio in the morning, and I want to feel that really good sweat.
Yeah.
So, but then afterwards, I'm like freaking shivering and freezing.
Yeah, the cold sweats from your
Oh gosh, I hate them.
Me too.
But at the same time, now everything's feeling real good. So it's been going good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, my weight right now is I've been bouncing around between like 142 and 141.
You weren't on last week, Jackie, but one thing we talked about was like steps versus cardio. Are those two separate variables you're tracking during your prep?
Absolutely. Yeah, and then same with my client. Same with our clients. We always track those two separate things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you at right now for steps and cardio?
Can I ask that?
What, my cardio?
Cardio and steps, yeah.
My cardio and steps haven't changed since the beginning. So it's 5 by 30 minutes and 10,000 steps. But we put it at 10,000 steps because I'm so active for my work. So I'm always hitting usually between 12 and 15 every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yeah, no, it's been great.
Sometimes it doesn't take much. I mean, if you can just consistently get a bump in small areas and not make it feel like a huge deal to person to person. Like if I upped your cardio 30%, anyone's going to feel that. So you need to kind of anticipate, I'm going to bump it up, but I don't want to wait until I need these big jumps. So, these gradual increases are huge for people because you got to absorb these hits that you're taking. It's a hit to lose some food. It's a hit to lose, well, not lose, but add on cardio.
Yeah.
And then you top that on a day like your kind of work is a little different where it's not as consistent, like in the sense of like some people get up, they do the same routine Monday through Friday. Jackie might have 4 houses she's cleaning and then a couple girls for esthetician work. She might have 1 house she's cleaning and a ton of people that she's sitting and doing the esthetician work for. So that consistency is something you got to kind of absorb too.
Yeah, I know this week's been a weird one. So like after this, I got to jump on the treadmill just to get some like 2,000 steps, which would be like 20 minutes on there walking.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What
about you, Mike? What's been new with you, man? I know you're pretty much getting towards you're still in your health phase, or you're going into a push after this health phase. Is that right?
Yeah, I just went and pulled labs this week.
Yeah.
And I've got some of the early results in, and not as good as I'd hoped for. So I'm waiting to get the rest of the results, and then going to review them with Paul. And I think this might be a longer health phase than I was hoping it would be. And it'll be what it'll be, and I'll have plenty of time to prep for nationals either way. But just taking the time to make sure that I restore all my health markers, make sure the kidney markers are good. And meanwhile, while my brain is functioning at top capacity, I've been catching up on a lot of things, getting our website redesign and getting that finished up, and coming up with some new swag and a bunch of other stuff related to the business. So look at more to come.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Muscle Project 2.0 is coming your way.
Love it.
We just did a little change on our emblem. We're doing like a couple different kind of like what do you call them? Yeah, like distressed looks, and like we're gonna have our blue collar emblem, but I don't know if you can see it, but this here's one.
Yeah.
That basically it's our, my hand's in the way. It says discipline or disappear, and then it's our emblem. So we kind of wanted to start doing something a little different because everything we've got's like, real clean cut, black and white. And
Yeah,
so
that's like that's the acid wash shirt.
yeah, like an acid wash look. So we're gonna start getting some more swag for, getting ready for spring and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy that kind of aspect, a little bit of creativity and, putting something together and you get to wear it and people love it. We don't hang on to stuff very long. The second we actually put it out there, it's gonzo. So
yeah, we're gonna be we're one of the bigger sponsors at the Rhode Island Championships. So we're gonna be having a booth there. We're gonna have our apparel and everything available. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you'll have to catch that one, Jeff. The Rhode Island NPC show. That's
going to be a good one.
Did you go last year?
I didn't know, but I know Justin puts the show on, and I know a lot of people did the show last year, and like a lot of other people are getting involved. I know Olympus Gym in Framingham is another sponsor of the show, and it just seems like that's the show to do in this area.
Yeah, it was really big, and I mean that venue.
It's at a casino, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that venue could be a pro show venue.
Oh yeah,
it's excellent.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. We're gonna have a bunch of swag to give away. We got some dope prizes for like raffles. I got Wolfpack backpacks, like a half a dozen of them. I got a bunch of like meal prep gym bags that are like Wolfpack style. That you can put all patches on, and we're gonna do like just giveaways and try to spoil everybody. So it's gonna be actually I think your coach Andrew's gonna be having a booth there too.
He will. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hopefully he's next to us.
Yeah, we'll tell them that we saw you eating cheeseburgers around. All that. Hey, so guys, I wanted to get into one topic before we kind of did any questions, and it's something that I've actually been doing quite a bit of thinking on, because I'll admit I feel like I've been making a few mistakes lately as a coach, and what I mean by that is I'm pretty good at the X's and O's. I'm good at the play-by-play stuff. You put a lot of the numbers in front of me. You put the people's pictures. I can make really good calls, and I'm confident in those decisions. But I'm trying to find out how to be better on the mental aspects of things with people. Everyone's a different individual. How I would coach Jackie versus Tanya, or Mike versus Jeff. That you're all different individuals. So some people require different needs mentally, right? Like some people need a kick in the ass. Some people I need to just get out of their way, give them the play, and they go run the play, and you literally get out of their way. And other people need a little more coddling and, just kind of more positive encouragement. And I think you kind of learn that through mistakes down the road. And I don't think I made any grave mistakes, but I find myself having a tough time more and more trying to relate to each individual. Like you try to have like the style you are as a coach, right? I'm a pretty no BS. I'll tell you exactly how it is, and I will never ever lie to you. If you said, Dave, do you think I'm going to win this show? If I think you're going to be second place, but you'll never get that first, I will tell you exactly how I feel. It's just how I operate. So with that being said, I figured there's no better people that I asked than you guys. What makes a coach good when it comes to the mental aspects? We can all just set aside the X's and O's, the macros, the training, PEDs and health protocols, but I'm trying to find out what areas we can all improve on as coaches when it comes to connecting to the individual client. Like they're humans, they're not just a robot I'm programming. Does that make sense? So I mean, I know myself, one thing is just kind of communicating differently. Like I'm a very, don't give me many excuses. If you tell me you got a bellyache, I'm going to tell you stop being a pussy. But I understand the difference between if you're truly hurt, we can adjust, or if you're truly sick or something, there's always obvious adjustments to be made. But if you're just kind of on the edge, I'm one of those that tell people this is where we just execute and we just work. We get right through it. And I feel like I've kind of turned a few people off to that, where Jackie has to save my ass, kind of good cop, bad cop. But it's, starting with like you, Tanya, is that something you've ever come across? Because I know you're a strong-minded individual like myself too. Is that something that you are conscious about when you take on new clients, figuring out who they are?
Yeah, for sure. I do have a lot of people that'll come to me and tell me I've had coaches before who were too soft on me. And I have a couple of people that have come to me and said, I've had coaches before who were an asshole to me, and they'll like tell me about it. But it's mostly people come to me wanting more of a like firmer style of coaching because they've been babied in the past before. Yeah. But yeah, I do get those people that need a lot more hand holding and need a lot more kind of emotional coddling, right? And I always try to bring it back to, I try to connect it back to the process in some way and meet them where they're at. So I found that I'm really good at learning someone's communication style and basically mirroring it.
Yeah.
And that's just an artifact of being neurodivergent. And that's how I've had to be my whole life, because any communication is me like making a script and kind of making a person mask to do it. So I kind of have to do that anyway. So I kind of pick up on someone's personality and communication style and almost adopt it subconsciously. That helps me out a lot in coaching, because I can kind of pick up on somebody's vibe, pick up on how they need to be communicated to, and just kind of go with that. And we get along no matter what kind of person it is. Because it's some people that'll just be like a general population, like middle-aged female who like needs a lot of encouragement and a lot of motivation and a lot of like hand-holding and check-ins and things like that. And then I'll talk to her completely differently than I talk to my male client, who I can call an asshole and just talk shit to all the time, because that's just how we communicate, right? Yeah. So I just kind of like communicate in the way that they do and the way that they need to be communicated with. And then I just circle everything back to the process. Like if the hang up is adherence, and you like they're so emotionally hung up with all this stuff and all this chaos, and they can't adhere to the basic things, and so they're upset they're not getting their results, I always try to break it down to whatever their level is. Okay, what is the lowest level protocol thing that you cannot seem to get in line? Let's set a goal so that we can figure out how to adhere to that one thing. That's the one thing. If we can get that in line consistently, then move on to the next thing, and just kind of break it and separate it from the emotional side, and just be like, okay, the reason why we're frustrated, I'll always circle it back to what they haven't been giving me, because usually this is a client who hasn't consistently checked in, hasn't consistently given me their information, hasn't consistently communicated with me. I'll circle it back and be like, all right, I would be able to address these things and dig into the roots of the reasons and kind of fix it for you, or help you figure out how to fix it if we had this information. That's why this is all really important. So make sure you tell me these things in your check-in. Make sure we work on this little piece of consistency. I just try to circle it back to the protocol at every point and try to keep it away from the being a therapist for somebody, because I don't want to be the coach that's constantly the therapist. I don't want to be the mental health coach and the helping women who are super busy coach and the like hand-holding coach. I don't want to make that my niche, so I don't want to encourage it too much.
Yeah.
So I just kind of,
So you're making big headway by learning their language and speaking their language.
Yeah, and just meeting them where they're at. Like if they can't execute one thing weekly, I can't expect them to execute all the other things. So to be like, all right, instead of working on this thing that we're really emotionally attached to, and this is the goal that we're really frustrated we can't get to because we can't even do the most basic thing, the goal right now is working on these habits. If it takes 6 months, we're working on these 2 habits.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, because there's really nothing else we can do. Like if they're upset with the fact that they're only working on those habits, it's like, without those, you're not going to get to your goal, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm a lot like Dave, like, very straight to the point, don't sugarcoat things. However, I'd say both of us are pretty sympathetic, but I'm definitely based on like problem solving. So like I do, and then I'm kind of like you talking where I loop it back around to the program.
I like to
Yeah.
ask them a lot of leading questions too, to try to get them to think for themselves. Be like, okay, why? What could you do better next time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get them to self-identify some of this themselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, Mike, with you, I'm sure you got people from your background too that there's probably some like uncertainties about themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like I get people that maybe they're obese and they feel like they're starting at such a massive disadvantage. They're starting at such like this, they're setting up this really big goal for themselves. And sometimes the biggest problem is actually themselves, like doubting themselves, but also managing expectations too. Like some people overshoot their expectations or undershoot. And then there's the people that want to be Mr. Olympia, and they'll be lucky if they get the first call out by the end of their bodybuilding career on a show. So, but you have to tread that, wisely. You got to be fair to them.
Yeah, I'm that latter guy as a client. I'm the guy who wants to be Mr. Olympia and will be happy if he ever makes first call outs at nationals.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly different dieting or coaching, being a diet coach than it is being an athletic coach, right? So, ultimately, whether it's an athlete or whether it's someone who's got some really bad habits and wants to change them, people are still people at the end of the day. And what we all long for in communication is to be heard. And so a lot of times as coaches, like we default back to like the protocol. The protocol is this: if you want ABC, you've got to do X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
And there's no other way, because we know that, being that strict about it is the way it gets done.
Yeah.
And not that you can't slightly deviate from that, but we certainly have some ideas that we're very attached to as coaches.
Right.
And in the process of doing that, a lot of times we kind of shut off to what their feedback might be. Like, in the beginning, it's very easy for us to, for me, when I'm onboarding a client, to ask these sort of leading questions. And I'm also pretty good at getting the answers out of them that I need them to give me, right? Because all the stuff they don't want to communicate, like what they really eat and how many beers they really drink and, these kind of things, or how many times a day they're going to the Starbucks drive-through. And, that part is the easy part. But then when you actually start talking about changing their habits, like just being able to listen to them, right? And being an active listener is such a lacking skill set that people have today.
Yeah,
And if
very
you can, if you can sit and listen and not wait to talk, like that's,
Yeah.
a lot of coaches, right? We're really quick to let everybody know what we know. Everybody wants to be the smartest guy in the room, but sometimes you don't know enough unless you've heard that client out completely and know what their concerns are. And once you've got that open level of communication with them, they'll tell you everything you need to know to coach them, right?
Yeah.
And,
Coaching is so much communication.
Yeah, very much
Very
so.
much so.
I have a it's a coach client communication contract that's a part of their onboarding. So they have their regular like actual legal waiver and whatnot. And then I have a coach client communication contract, and it basically says that coaching is a service. I can't do much for you if you don't communicate with me, both the things that go well and the things that don't go well, because that's what I'm here for. If everything was going well, you wouldn't be hiring me. So this agreement, you are agreeing to communicate with me openly, not only when things are going well, but when things fuck up, when you mess up, when you have stresses in your life, when things go bad, when you're off the plan. Don't just ghost me, communicate with me. And they sign that. And whatever, I mean, it's a placebo, but it's at least something in their head. Be like, okay, I agreed to communicate even when things are bad.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. The comment over here, if you want to pull that up, Thomas Turner, he writes, do you have clients that over communicate? How do you deal with someone with lots of constant questions or needs? Yeah, Dave and I have definitely had a couple of those people, especially within the past year.
Mhm.
Those are the people, it's like, you're like, whoa, we need to slow down. Like you need to stop them in their tracks because they're like literally overthinking everything. It's like, I answer your question and then they don't even digest that. And then they just go on to the next thing. It's just,
Yeah, some people got to learn to walk before they think they're going to run.
100%.
Now you make a good point, Mike, because also it's kind of like a comfort thing too. Like the second they realize they can talk to you negatively, through the negative aspects and the positive aspects, it's a comfort level, it's a trust level. Now you just put yourself up into a success range where you can actually talk to these people. You can say things they don't want to hear, but they're going to hear it out. And it's trust too. Like they trust that you're not sugarcoating or you're not lying to them. You're just telling them what needs to get done. We don't really always get to pick the solutions. Good bodybuilders are.
You can't just go boot camp on everybody because they'll shrivel up and go away. If they had the mindset for that, they wouldn't have gotten to where they were at anyway. So there's a time for boot camp. Don't get me wrong. Like you can do this or you can be a pussy. It's up to you. I mean, my style is more like, hey, the protocol says you should do this, but if that is really difficult for you, you could do the alternative. You're not going to have these other results, but you can still do this alternative. And then, they can choose to be a pussy or not.
Yeah.
So like Mike was saying, oftentimes I think if we learn to listen, I think oftentimes the clients give us the answers that we need to provide them the solution. So I feel like for us is, all bodybuilders ourselves involved with fitness. A lot of us have designed systems and put systems in place for our own success. And a lot of times it's just like knowing the client's life and like putting yourself in their shoes and like, okay, what is causing X, Y, and Z to happen every week? Where's the miss? And what, if I was in that person's shoes, what are some of the things I might do to try and make things different?
Yeah.
My wife actually wrote a comment in too, my wife/business partner. So,
what's the name?
Anika.
Oh, I think I just pulled them up.
Yep.
Yeah. She made a great point. People's mental health, personality, definitely connect on how their progress goes. So it coincides all together. I mean, that's exactly it. Some people, it's how they set themselves up, how they walk into the situation's huge too. Like I try to make this scenario very certain for them after someone onboards with me, and I can tell that this person may be a little bit on the edge. They've tried a lot of things that haven't been successful for them, and they're getting frustrated. I try to paint the picture to them at the end of the day of what common goals we have as a coach and an athlete and how we want to be successful. So setting yourself up with a positive mindset's huge. So that's one thing I know I'm pretty decent at on the mental aspects of things is I can usually pick apart if somebody's already doubting themselves, and I try to pick them up a bit. Say, hey, I've seen people have far worse starting positions than yourself do far more amazing things than you even set for your expectations and goals. But it's hard because everyone's different. Like that's a big process, as Tanya said, trying to figure out how people communicate. It's especially through text messages, through emails. You're not always getting a minute to go face to face with people. That makes things difficult, which is something I've actually incorporated lately is if I don't have to type something, and it requires a couple more, like a paragraph of discussion, I usually send a voice memo. So I can they can hear my demeanor, or if there's something that I can tell, are they going to take this as I'm criticizing them or telling them they're not doing well, or am I telling them that, something positive? If I can tell they're not going to get the context, I'll do like a Loom or a quick video and send it to them so they can actually see me, see my reaction, and you stay on the same page. Because it is a big deal, like Tanya says too, down the road, I tell everybody this, if you pay attention and you allow me to teach you too, we're going to speak the same language at some point. And that's going to be huge. Think about it, Mike. If you had all the knowledge when you first started with Paul, not the knowledge you have now, you'd be at a disadvantage. Now you and Paul can talk on the same page with a lot of things, I think that's huge, but.
Do you guys have any strategies? So say, some people do really well with compliments. Other people need to be pushed. Are there any strategies you guys have as far as making that determination when you kind of need to drop the hammer with someone as far as okay, they're, week after week compliance isn't really happening. As far as that goes.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that requires a sit down conversation with the client where we're like, we gotta, do a video call and discuss like what exactly is holding you back from hitting these goals each week. Because I mean, obviously, if you keep telling them, like trying to motivate them, it's only going to do so much and only go so far. But
yeah, one thing I do is I just try to use my own common sense and the wisdom I've built of doing this long enough. Like if I can tell someone's dragging their feet and they're not putting 110% into something and they're trying to get away with it in their check-ins, like, I gave it my best. I just didn't have it in me today. Or something came up. I wasn't able to get all my cardio done. When things are just kind of too easy of excuses where I can't let them get away with it, I literally just tell them the truth. I tell them, I don't think your excuses are good enough. I mean, you set a goal, you promised yourself you were going to be successful in this endeavor. You were going to pay for some coaching. You were going to set time aside to be available to do these goals. Yeah, I think that's, something I usually do is just pretty straightforward, call them out. And I don't wait long. I mean, these weeks that go by, you allow 4 weeks to go by, they're going to just develop a poor habit, Jeff. Like if you let them get away with things and then provide an excuse and you accept it, shame on you as the coach, especially if you knew this, you could have identified and nipped it in the butt. Because losing 4 weeks, that's a payment for them. That's 4 weeks of progress. And hopefully they didn't develop a bad habit, if that makes sense, of dragging their feet and thinking this is normal. I'm going to get there just by giving it 10% effort when it requires more.
I know it mind baffles me how many people are willing to waste their money.
Oh, it blows my mind.
It's crazy. Like if you're paying for coaching, aren't you just gonna like follow everything perfectly? I mean,
I was just having this conversation with a couple of other coaches today about clients who will just pay you for like a year and you'll get like 1 or 2 checks. Like I've had my coach for 7 years. I've never missed 1 check-in.
Yep.
Not one.
Same.
Why would I miss check-ins? That doesn't make any sense.
I've taken check-ins on vacations. I've taken check-ins while my house is in the middle of being remodeled. I don't know. I guess I just don't really understand the excuses when it comes to that because it literally takes less than 10 minutes to,
It's like, do you guys think that you're just going to receive a nutrition and training program and that's the magic and now you're going to automatically get you could get that from ChatGPT, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think people really have, if they haven't been coached before, they don't really have a fair understanding of what to expect from the relationship.
Sure.
Right.
That's
But then there's
something-
there's a responsibility on the coach on onboarding to make that, to lay that out. Right. So, I mean, at least my clients know what the process is when they come on. So it's like, if I'm just not going to hear from you for 3 months after onboarding, and then you come and ask me for a change, it's like, this is what we would discuss in our check-ins, of which I haven't received any.
And also maybe like if someone didn't grow up playing sports or having a coach, this whole idea of having a coach is something completely foreign to them.
Yeah.
Like listening to someone else, it can be, a bit of a change for someone.
Yeah.
For sure.
To me, in my
they always
mind, I'm
have
just
us to
like,
blame
if
when
you-
they fail on their fitness journey after 60 to 90 days, which most people do. So
yeah.
But Mike, how do you get through that though? Like, because that's one aspect that we're kind of talking about is the mental things. You can't really program that somebody hasn't been coached in the past, or they weren't, an athlete growing up throughout high school or maybe college. So how do you transit? You just got to educate these, the new client, like this is how our relationship stands. This is how we do things. You just got to take a little more time, right?
Well, I mean, it ultimately, you want to establish a degree of accountability. Some people are more receptive to that than others, and people who aren't receptive to being accountable. Sometimes those harder cases, you just kind of have to start slow with them. So, a lot of times I'll be like, well, let's try these couple of things first, because if I give you a whole plan and say, look, do these 5 workouts a week, eat this diet 7 days a week, weigh everything they put in your mouth, take this supplement this time of day, this supplement that time of day, inject this, and swallow that. Like, it's a lot for people, right? And if you have somebody who hasn't been coached, who wasn't in sports, who's been obese all their life, or has gotten out of shape, and hasn't been around fit people since they were in high school, playing sports or whatever, a lot of times it's just like, hey, well, let's try a few small things first. Like, can you not drink any sugary drinks this week? Let's cut the soda out. You can have one beer one day a week or something, no more nightly beers, whatever the case might be, like some very minor changes. And then like, hey, why don't you go on a 10-minute walk like twice a day, like after lunch and after dinner, go on a 10-minute walk. And you get them to do these little changes. And it's like, if you take soda pop and out of someone's diet and you send them on a couple of 10-minute walks a day, they're going to feel better pretty quickly, right? And then they can start to trust you a little bit. And then you can say, look, let's implement these couple of changes. And then once you've got some compliance out of them and they understand the dynamics of the relationship a little bit, and you're not there to judge them or treat them harshly, you're there to support them, encourage them, but also hold them accountable. It's just like when you're managing employees. I'm sure you got a lot of people that work for you, Dave. It's like you have to be able to. If I can't do everything myself, I have to delegate it to somebody else. If I delegate tasks to somebody else, they're going to make mistakes. I have to let them make mistakes, even though they cost me money a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But I also have to let them feel the consequences of that mistake, or else they're just going to keep doing it again and again. So it's a lot the way I approach coaching, where it's like, okay, you decided to go off on this weekend and eat a bunch of pizzas and drink a couple pitchers of beer. Like, how do you feel right now?
Yeah.
And we'll discuss how they're feeling about their mistakes they made, right? Let them wallow in it a little bit so they don't want to do it again. Like rubbing the puppy's nose in the mess he makes,
I love the how do you feel about that follow-up with both good and bad things, just to cement that association in their mind. Like after they did a good streak of behaviors, be like, okay, how do we feel after that? How did that make you feel? Or how did that make you physically feel when you kept up this habit? And then after a bad thing, like, how did that make you feel immediately after that? Emphasize those consequences and attach that emotion to it.
Well, so then you can use it. You can use it later too. Like, oh, you're going out of town this weekend. Well, remember how you felt when you made those mistakes before. And when you come back on Monday, we don't want to feel that way again. And the same thing goes when you're celebrating their victories. You ask the same thing, like, how does that make you feel? Like, I feel great. I feel like I can accomplish this. I feel like I can do that. And then you can use that again later on down the road. Like, remember that time when you did the thing and you felt so great about it? Like, yes, like let's get that feeling again. And anyway.
What about Zionic?
Yeah, I'm going to get to those questions there in a few. I'm just saving a couple. But Nick has one that's on basically what you were just talking about. How do you approach people when they don't feel so bad about their mistakes, and maybe
they better not feel bad about their lack of results.
Sure. Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
That's the blunt force method for sure.
I mean, if you're okay with what you did and you're okay with the outcome, cool. I'm okay with it too.
Yeah. But then it sounds like you have changed your goals. Because that's not what we talked about most likely when we first took you on and we first discussed goals and what it's going to require and the sacrifices you're going to have to hand out or go without. Now I got one question of my own, and then we'll jump into some questions we got waiting. But it's on the same topic. So for the mental aspect of coaching people along, is how do you build adherence to a program without guilting them, shaming them, or babying them? Sometimes, I'm a big fan of just reusing their goals and just reminding them that I try to get people to make a deal with themselves. Like, give yourself a commitment to X amount of time to hold yourself to like a true level of effort, because only you can gauge that. I can judge it, but I can't truly gauge it. But how do you do that without shaming people, or baby too long? People need to adhere to a plan. So mine's always reminding them of their goals.
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's pretty much what I do too.
Yeah.
And I really like compliment stacking. So stack a compliment with the piece of negative feedback. Like find the things that they did really well. Be like, okay, a win here is you did really well at this. Great job. That's because of this and this and this. See, it was better than the last time because of these skills, and you can carry that forward to the next time. However, this, and this can be improved. and give suggestions there. And I also ask them, like in my adherence questions, in my check-ins, where I go, did you adhere 100% to your training or your nutrition or whatever? If not, why? And what could you do next time this happens to be better prepared and avoid that? So that I kind of force them into some self-reflection to kind of lead themselves into the answer. And if they don't say why, then I will call some things out for them. Or if they say, yes, I did adhere, and I see on their spreadsheet, no, they did not adhere, I'd be like, actually, in fact, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point.
Yeah.
But I always like to combine it with something that they did and, you know, kind of pace it with, because I'll have people that they'll have 1 month where they had a few fall offs and this and this and this. And then the next month they kind of have similar things, but they handled it a little bit better. And then the next month they handle it a little bit better. But every time they feel like they failed.
Yeah.
Until I point out, well, you did this, this, and this better than you did last time. That's because you struggled with it last time and you worked through it and you reflected on it and we figured out some ways to improve that. You carried that into this one. So this is actually a net win.
Yeah.
These are still the things we can improve, but this is better than last time. So we just need to continue improving like this. So pointing out those like trajectories of getting a little bit better, even though they feel like right now, oh, I failed again.
Right. Yeah. Always starting with positive reinforcement is key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I find that people fall off the bandwagon is how they're preparing food. So like the people that I always end up finding out that they're preparing food either every day or every other day. I'm like, all right, you need to meal prep on Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, get set up for the week. But it's the people that are always making that fresh food, because I don't know why people do that. I don't know if it's the taste or the flavor or whatever, but like I would be pulling my freaking hair out and I wouldn't be able to stay on track if I was cooking my meal from scratch every single day.
Yeah.
See, mine with that is the tracking. I have to pull teeth to get people to pre-track and pre-plan their meals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. It's, you know, you just keep reminding me all the tough things that come mentally that are not X's and O's, that are outside of my specialty.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess at the end of the day, you're just trying to relate to the client and you're trying to get on the same page. And honestly, I do believe that their goals become my goals too. I mean, and I truly want all my people to be successful. I don't root against anybody at all. Why would I? It's ridiculous. But that you kind of remind me, Tanya, that's what I call non-scale victories. You know, so people that we all have it. You get people that the scale doesn't go where they want it to go or anticipated it, but they had great gym performance. They hit a PR on something. They finally got their hydration on point, which has been lacking, or whatever it is. There's a bazillion things that are non-scale goals, victories that can be a tool for you to remind people. You know, I'm sure, Jeff, how many times have you been trying to put on size and maybe you stall for 3 or 4 weeks, but gym performance is awesome. Sleep starts to maybe get good. Like you're just nailing a few things, but
and it could be like that for 3 weeks at a time and no changes happen. But you're right, your gym performance is going up. Then all of a sudden there's a week where it's like, oh, wow, I gained 4 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just got to stick with it. For me, what I have a tougher time with personally is when I'm in prep and I'm doing like 2 hours of cardio a day. And it's like a couple days go by, food's really low, doing a ton of cardio. And I'm like, I'm up 0.5 pounds from the last time. You know what I mean? Like for me, that's a lot more frustrating when the output is like way up here. And the scale isn't moving.
Me over here at damn near the same body weight I started prep at.
Exactly how I am, Tanya.
Yo, if I didn't have a coach right now, I'd be eating so much less.
I think we'd all be victims of that. Like if we were self-coached, we'd always do way more.
I'd be freaking out. I'd be freaking out.
Yeah. I know. On preps, I typically only have to lose like 6 pounds.
Wow.
It's a very slow burn every single time.
Yeah, that's all right. It's the mirror. But we're looking at the mirror. The judges don't pull out a scale before you get to present your physique. They don't ask you how much you bench. They don't ask you how much you squat. They really don't care. It's your physique, and they don't care what you sacrificed. The person that's got all the genetics in the world. Not that that's a negative. I mean, it's an advantage to them. But there's some people that are going to win with less effort, and the judges they're not going to take that into consideration. which is fine, as it should be. So
How often are you guys using their progress photos rather than the scale to encourage them? Like they start talking about scale weight and you take a picture of them 6 weeks earlier and put it against their check-in pic today and go, look at you. This is what's happened for you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Why does the number on that scale matter?
Exactly. I love doing that for people because that really gives them a boost in motivation. It makes them feel proud.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to a couple of quick questions people dropped in. Let's get to Thomas. And this isn't really a question, but Thomas, we're not going to jump on you, but we're going to give you some unsolicited advice. So he says, I have not hired a coach because I know I can't be consistent with my current life and work, but it sounds like it would be really impactful if you could commit. Now, I'm not saying that, Thomas, you don't have a scenario where, there's definitely scenarios where it's a juggle to make everything work. And I coach a bunch of people like that. But how do you guys try to set up a scenario like that? Someone's working 90 hours a week, right? And they're trying to keep up with all the meals, all the stuff. How do you start building success for them? I mean, mine is always routine. I say it all the time. How many habits can we build? If everything was a habit, I would love it. That would work great for my clients, and it does for me, and I think it does for most people. But what is he missing on? I mean, is he seems to be doubting himself right off the bat, or is there, you truly feel there's a way you can squeeze bodybuilding in with any lifestyle? Because I do.
Yeah, I guess I do to a point. I never come across somebody yet that haven't been able to make it work. I feel like really figuring out the proper meals of the time of day of what's going on in that person's life to make it most ideal.
Yeah.
When I'm putting a diet plan together, that's why like people where their life is chaos. I need to make sure that I have a really detailed outline of their day so I can match the type of food to put to each meal. So it makes sense of, timing for easy for them to get it down, or, they don't have a microwave or whatever, warm something up. So you're going to make everything work. That's my number one thing.
What about you, Tanya? What's your biggest thing that you try to develop with people when they live these busy lives? They got 3 kids, working 2 jobs, and they want to find a way to make bodybuilding, or not even bodybuilding, just a fat loss journey or health journey work a little better for them. How do you approach that?
My thing is, I find it really strange. A lot of people hesitate to hire a coach because of exactly what Thomas said, because I can't be consistent with my current life and work. And yeah, like some people's lives are harder than others, but everyone thinks that they are going to struggle with being a client because of their current life and work. And everyone thinks that their current life and work is too much for also doing fitness and bodybuilding.
Right.
There are people on the Olympia stage who still work in the medical field, like as a traveling nurse and shit like that.
Very common.
Yeah.
And when you have a life like that, that is actually when you need and can benefit from a coach the most. Because
I was going to say, this is a reason to hire a coach.
Yeah, that's going to be somebody to manage that for you and not think about it for you and make the plan for you and keep you accountable for you. Like, it's going to be somebody who can take all that, like, you throw all the shit, like, this is all the shit that I have to deal with. This is what my day looks like. And they can piece that out and be like, okay, we can fit the pieces we need to implement for your goals into all these places. And this is how we can balance it. That can be 2 days in the gym a week.
Yeah.
That's better than nothing. And that can be a very, very, very bare bones, simple meal plan to get in the nutrition that you need. That's better than no plan at all, which is what you would have before. So a coach is only going to make that less chaotic and stressful.
Yeah. A lot of people, I don't think, realize that. I mean, I could have Dave prep me. I could prep we could work together and prep myself, but I have a coach that I put the trust in. I don't need to think about anything at all. And I love that. I just follow it exactly as it's written.
Yeah, I have military people. I have people who are truck drivers. I have people who are working in the healthcare industry. Like, nobody has a super easy life that I work with. And it's just about finding what they need to do. If it's all liquid meals, because that is the only thing they can get in. That's what we're going to figure out. If it's 1 or 2 days a week at the gym, that's what we're going to figure out. If it's you're working out of a like little square box unit with dumbbells and nothing in it because you're at whatever remote military base, we're going to figure out a workout program that can work there. You know, there's a way to work it for everybody. It's just about their individual situation.
It's level of commitment sometimes too, right? It's like, you know, if you met a new girlfriend and you had to make time for her, you probably could fit that into your schedule, right? If you were getting a new side hustle that was going to make you $10,000 a week, you'd figure out how to work that into your schedule. Right. And it's just like, what are your priorities? And, you know, there's some things that are somewhat negotiable, right? Like you got some overtime on this day, you didn't make it to the gym, you skip a workout here or there, it's not really the end of the world. Like this, and we all know this, like the thing that's really non-negotiable is the diet, right? You can't miss meals, you can't eat off plan. Like these are the things that are really detrimental to your success. So let's talk about that. You know, if you're a road worker and you're standing out there holding a sign all day, you know, you can have your cooler sitting right next to you. You can have things that you eat during those times of the day that you don't have to heat up, right? I mean, cold rice and chicken isn't great, but it ain't terrible either. Now, whitefish, I've had to eat it cold, but I have a different level of dedication than most people. Yeah. But I remember when I did my first contest prep, and I was really getting into doing the meal prep, I went and had a 5,000 watt inverter installed into my truck. And I had a microwave on the floor of the back seat. And so I could, when I was out working, and we were managing several different locations at the time, when I was out working, I could stop on the side of the road, pop a meal in whenever I needed, because I hated eating cold fish.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really great convenience food that you can get now too, so you don't even have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, on that story of having a microwave in your car, we did a family road. I have 3 kids. We did a family road trip to Florida where we drove over the summer. And, you know, I packed my meals, and I had one of these microwaves you can get where you hook it into the battery outlet of your car. So I just did that.
You mean those little trucker ovens? Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even have little crock pots that are like one meal that you can quickly warm up in the little.
I have one of those that I'll take to hotels with me sometimes if I have to stay in a hotel and I can't get an Airbnb. I have one of those. But I've eaten multiple meals a day at work out of cargo pants pockets before in my life. It's not like you're gonna eat anyway.
When you were just saying that like a minute ago, you were talking about you do what you got to do to get the meals in. I was going to say, Jackie and I have quite a few Tanyas that we've taught to eat out of their pockets. Yeah. Like we literally, like at UPS drivers during the holidays, Amazon drivers, that they're going to have a package in one hand, or they're driving and they're walking with their hands full.
Yeah, most of the jobs I've ever had, the majority of the jobs I've ever had in my entire time working, have not afforded me being able to sit down and eat food. Yeah. And I have eaten on plan all of those years.
Yeah. I know. When in doubt, be Napoleon Dynamite and stuff those tots in your
pocket. Well, I'll tell you what, though, if you haven't done it, you're not real. If you haven't had to choke down some cold tilapia covered in mustard, eaten right out of a Ziploc baggie.
Yep.
How willing are you to do what it takes?
Jackie can tell you there used to be, like I told you about me eating out of a backwards sweater, but I used to have a contract and I would go out with some of my guys, and we had baseball fields and soccer fields they would mow, and I'd go out with them sometimes just to keep the pace with them, you know, give them a boot in the butt. And I would literally load one of my baggers for my mower with my cooler. And I would literally just go around when it's, because you'd be on the mower for 8 hours. You don't get off other than take a leak. We'd just go grab a meal, put it on there, and just eat it with one hand while grass is flying in your face and, you know, eating pollen. You just do what you got to do, you know, at the end of the day.
Or the story you told last week where you'd be like in an excavator eating as your
out of my sweatshirt. Yeah.
play a YouTube video on that.
I literally have YouTube videos of me doing that all the time. Yeah. Let's bring up this one. How do you deal with overconfident clients, meaning their expectations in a time frame that you think is not realistic? That's a pretty good one.
I think honesty is the best. Like you said earlier, Dave, if someone's going to get second place in a show, I'm not going to tell them otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think giving them the motivation, like, hey, that's a great goal, but I think let's try for this because that's a really big goal, and I think we can get there. But in this time frame, I think this might be more appropriate. So let's try for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of people, you know, that want to compete for the first time, and you know, they're all natural, which is, you know, that's great. And if they want to do an OCB show, so we actually usually put them to the OCB because at first they think that they want to do an NPC, but like we encourage them to OCB because we want to see them do better. Because if you know, if they're not in that spot yet, it's going to be way out of their league.
Yeah.
So why put them through that?
I think a big part too is setting people up for success to a point. Like they might have expectations that are huge, right? They want to do their first show, then go to a national show, turn pro, and then we'll talk about it after that. And it's like that's just a hefty. You're literally talking. Let's talk statistics. Like I'll talk with people sometimes the numbers of what that means. Like the chances of you accomplishing the goals that you set that are hefty. And again, you're not trying to discourage anything from anyone. It's just being realistic. So we spend our time towards the correct goal and trying to hit the correct target. But yeah, honesty is just how you have to do it. So when she asked, you know, how do we deal with that? If I think you got your head in the clouds and you're going to be counterproductive with those goals, I kind of have to tell you that's part of what you're hoping that I'm going to provide for information and feedback and being realistic. And there's nothing wrong with, if you want to make it to the top, you have to start at the bottom, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you can't supersonic speed everything. You got to earn some of this. And we just talked about earlier too, some of this you don't pay for. Like you have to earn it. Like I can't buy a pro card. I can't buy a win. I can't buy bigger buys.
Even though you do have to buy it.
No, but you see what it does. The entry is earned, you know?
Yeah.
That's what's great about having a good physique, because it's like, okay, you could lease a nice car or finance it. You can do all this stuff to make it look like you're something you're really not. But when it comes to building a physique, there's really only way to get to it, and that's the hard work behind it.
Yeah, you can't fake it.
But I imagine, Mike, you can set expectations with people in bigger steps, like a bigger timeline. Like, who am I to know? If you had told me that Nick Walker was going to be one of the top 10 guys in the world when he first did his show, none of us would have guessed that. We would have said this guy's got none of the genetics for it. He doesn't have the shape. It's not going to happen. Yeah. But you setting a bigger timeline, telling people like that might be a great goal, but it's not going to happen in 1 year. Let's work towards step 1, and that'll lead to step 2, and then we can get to more manageable, understandable goals. You can't become a billionaire without becoming a millionaire first. Like you have to go one step at a time. So earn your way there.
Well, you know, there's the people that come to you and say, I've got my cousin's wedding in 6 weeks and I need to lose 40 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I could get you there, but here's what it's going to take. And, you know, it's going to be painful and you're not going to like it. Or here's another plan. Right. And I don't know. I've been in sales and consulting all my life. So managing people's expectations is certainly something that I feel like I'm pretty good at. But, you know, if someone has an unrealistic goal, I try to just present them with a more realistic option. And you give them, like Dave was saying, some perspective on what it would actually take to accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I missing anything on that one? I mean, I guess honesty is the key.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't beat around the bush. I can't lie to you. I just got to tell you exactly what I'm feeling and thinking.
And I just like to remind them, like, you came to us to keep your head on straight. And also, what makes you think that I would be trying to hold you back from doing more? Like, obviously, that would be great for us to be able to get you to do this crazy thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
And then I just try to give them the information and the whys behind the limitations so that hopefully, because that's how my brain works, it has to make sense to me for me to buy into it. Otherwise, my brain just throws it out. So I try to make it make sense to them, and I give them the reasons behind it and my thought process and reason with them so that they understand it and get them on board that way.
Yeah. Great point. Yep. All right, let's get this one from Zionic. Zionic asked, how would a coach feel if their client came to them with 5 weeks left in their push-up phase, but they stated that they want to continue, but their CNS feels fried?
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
I guess I'll start with I hate putting timelines on things. Like I have 5 weeks left in my push phase.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the time his push phase ends here. You know what I mean? I think we need to look at the current situation and make decisions on the fly. This push could go 10 weeks. That's just my first thoughts on this, but I would ask some questions, I guess, to see, probing to see if maybe they need a deload or something like that. If their CNS is fried, obviously a deload would be the number one thing, and then seeing how they are coming out of that. You're right. It's a constant communication between the coach and client and seeing the changes we need to make as we go.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd be a little like, how did I not catch this? First of all, I have people tracking all the biofeedback every single day. So like if I was seeing their soreness or their fatigue building up, I like to rate things typically between like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, with 5 being the worst, 10 being the worst, whatever. And if I keep seeing like, let's say 4s and it's a scale to 5, I need to start pulling back, because if we do have a timeline that we want to accomplish, and like say if someone's doing a cycle, obviously we don't want to just throw that out the window. So we want to extend the time. We're already halfway through here. So no, I'd want to catch on to the biofeedback as soon as possible and deload and then get right back into things.
Yeah. And when you pick up on that, start the discussion. Like you say, that's when you start, all right, I'm seeing a lot of 4s. You start having talks with the client. You start discussing then what you're seeing. So you can, again, be right back to the same page. I think I'll just quickly say mine is I think that when you're feeling that sensation, your CNS is fried. The best answer is usually no magic trickery. It's the best rest is rest. It's time away, and that doesn't have to be a deload week. That doesn't have to be, longer. It can be just what's needed. You can go day by day with people and start seeing like, hey, catch up. When we start our training week on Wednesday, why don't you take a day off from the gym? Let me know how you're feeling Tuesday morning. Let's just start there and start the dialogue. But identifying this ahead of time is a great thing that you need to try to do as a coach. So I try to pick up on that ahead of time, try to get ahead of it. And if I have to dial back volume a little bit so I can still be productive, but not drive them quickly into the ground and have to take a full week to recover, you can totally do that too.
Well, there's a big difference between a lot of times someone will say to you something like my CNS is fried and not really understand what it is they're saying, right? Like we just gave a whole bunch of answers that would also apply to systemic fatigue. Yeah. So, is the client feeling systemic fatigue, or are they really having some problems with their CNS, right? And then sometimes, if it is a CNS thing and it's not a systemic fatigue thing, then taking stimulants out, like how much caffeine are you considering? And I don't want to put too much of what I know about Zionic's program out there, but is it time to start scaling down the Nor-19s so that you get ready to give your CNS a break? And if you do, how much of effect is that going to have in the last 5 weeks of your push phase? So
yeah. Sometimes these scenarios they make their own shots. They call their own shots. And then one last thing I think we missed too is how long have we been on this push? If we're at 28 weeks and we just we had it in our mind to get another 5 weeks or another training block out of it, this might be the key saying that was the wrong decision. Let's start dialing things back, get into that health phase, drop the things you're talking about. We might not need some things that are going to stimulate the CNS, improve sleep. and just get out of that hole that we've dug ourselves into. John Meadows said it, and I'll never forget the saying. We've all heard it: is don't dig yourself a hole you can't get out.
Yep.
So you have to be able to recover between sessions to stay productive, because consistency is our magic power. It's not how good can this next training session be. Well, this next training session might dig you into that hole you're not getting out of for some weeks.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of look at it too. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it taking a step back to take two forward, sometimes. So
here's a random weird question. How do you is there any symptom that you guys experience where you can tell it's your CNS that's getting fried?
When my CNS was truly fried, my body stopped me from doing anything.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
my body, like
so
it was like just a physiological crash.
exhausted during the day, like doing like work tasks and stuff, and I'm just sitting at my desk yawning.
That's good.
It's like,
Jeff's got
like
sleep apnea that he hasn't diagnosed. That's the problem.
Yeah.
it's like prep fatigue to the absolute maximum.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get like the motor recruitment that you're looking for. Like you could set up, like Paul talked about it one time too. Like he literally went to warm up on a leg press. He couldn't get two plates moving. His brain just wasn't having it. His body was also agreeing none of this. And it's pretty obvious usually. It creeps up quick.
Yeah, for me, it's like multiple things, but it's definitely like I'm falling asleep, like, just watching TV. And then recovery is slowing down. So my recovery is beginning to suck a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing that points it up always the most for me is I begin to get eye twitches, and it twitches for weeks on end. And it drives me up a wall. And usually when I start getting eye twitches and then muscle twitches that are going throughout the day, weeks on end, that's when I'm like, dude, my CNS is getting effed right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
The fidgety thing is definitely a thing for me, fidgeting or twitching, or for sure. And then, that sort of almost like crash where you're either like hyper jittery and, from the clin or whatever. And then all of a sudden that wears off and you just like, it's like you're narcoleptic. Just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Last quick one for you, Mike. When you making another blood work video? Soon with Paul?
I think Paul and I are going to go on live next Monday and review my blood work on and do one of our live coach check-ins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Dave, are you and Paul doing a blood work one?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay.
No,
I thought I saw something like that.
no, we've been working on some other stuff in the background, but
Yeah.
no. Well, I think we'll call that it for today. And if Jeff, if Jeff's wife's watching, I'm going to throw him under a bus. Make sure he gets a sleep test soon.
It's actually ordered. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail.
Did you?
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Did you go with the at home? So you're doing the at home sleep test?
Yeah, through Lofta.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like Tanya mentioned it too. Last time we talked about it, I'd imagine it's going to be more accurate anyways. I mean, who the hell is going to get a apples to apples comparison sleeping in a hospital, for the sleep test or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I would not sleep if I had to do
He's
that. I
staring
just
at the
wouldn't
wall.
sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't
Well-
even sleep with my Apple Watch on. So
Oh, really? I keep my watch on all night long. I don't know why.
I just had the Aura ring.
Do you?
Yeah, I want to get one of those.
Are those
hold that
reliable?
finger up again, Tanya. What was that?
Aura ring.
Not the middle finger.
You can have that one too.
And a parting message from Tanya.
There's our thumbnail right there.
It unfortunately doesn't fit on my middle finger, so it goes on my index finger. They say that's the best one to put it on anyway, for whatever reason. So
A couple more weeks in prep, it'll be on your thumb.
Yeah.
You can get a little leaner.
yeah, maybe.
Speaking of which, my wedding ring, I can't get it off. It's
Oof.
my fingers are growing too big at this point in the off season.
Yeah.
I got my wedding ring when I was like uber fat, so now it doesn't fit at all.
Yeah.
So it
Now
falls
I do.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, now I do one of the rubber rings, which actually, but I have it tattooed
Yeah,
too.
both of us have it tattooed.
So
That's awesome.
All you need is a diazide and a little lubricant, man. You can get that thing off.
there you go. Yeah, that's exactly right. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone joining, and anybody that's watching this after the fact, drop some comments below of what you guys want to see next show, and we'll definitely get into it. So until the next one, everybody be good and grip it and rip it.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.